Hi guys. So, patch day. And it's not really good news, is it? Um, Patch day, we don't really expect much changes to the patch notes, but in recent times we've all learnt that stealth nerfs do happen, and we should always be on the lookout for them. And the first thing I knew today when I logged in was to look for the helm and the main hand that were going to be changed, that we had kind of information about last week. Now, in the actual official patch notes, it never mentioned the helm directly, so we weren't expecting any changes. But sadly, when it comes to the main hand and the helm, we had changes to both on live, when we only expected it to be the main hand. So, I did some testing. We're going to go through it. We're going to see what's on there and what it's all about. Remember, if you like my Necro content and you want to continue helping supporting the channel, a like and subscribe is always appreciated. But let's get into kind of the information of the day. First things first, we'll take a look at some screenshots for the helm and the main hand, and kind of before and after the patch, so you can see the difference here. And I'll just bring them onto my screen now. And on here you can see that, let me maybe zoom in a little bit and drag it over. So for the helm, before patch, Grimscythe mark lasts 6 seconds on an enemy. If the marked enemy is attacked 5 times, it explodes for 16,674 damage to all nearby enemies. Damage increased is by 90%, and Grimscythe further increased by 10% due to my awakening. After logging in today, we then see that Grimscythe's helm has now been, the mark that it applies has now been reduced down to 2 seconds. And if that marked enemy is attacked 5 times, the mark will explode and deal 16,619 damage, which is a very small amount less. So I'm not really going to moan about that part. But the 4 seconds drop on debuff duration is significant, when it wasn't in any patch notes whatsoever. And it has, to put it bluntly, that has pissed off a lot of people. I think stealth nerfs are something that possibly shouldn't happen. I think we should all be aware of what's going to happen when the patch notes hit, and when it goes onto live. And in this case, we've had a double whammy, because on the main hand, this is the before and after patch write-up on the skills. Grimscythe now targets an enemy and hurls a scythe at and applies a Reaper's Mark for 6 seconds. If the enemy with Reaper's Mark is damaged, they will unleash a sweeping scythe that deals 23,260 damage to nearby enemies. Your summons will prioritize attacking enemies with Reaper's Mark, and if that enemy dies with an active mark, it will move to the nearest enemy and apply a new Reaper's Mark to them. So, after patch, logging in, checking the skills, this is what I found. Grimscythe now targets an enemy and hurls a siphon that applies a Reaper's Mark for 3 seconds. So that's a 60% or 50% reduction on the amount of debuff time. If the enemy with Reaper's Mark is damaged, that will unleash a sweeping scythe that will deal 15,388 damage to nearby enemies. So a significant damage decrease. Your summons still prioritize attacking that target, and if the enemy dies, the active mark will move still to the nearest enemy and apply a brand new mark, which will only last 3 seconds. Now, with these stealth nerfs, we've done a fair amount of testing as a Discord community. The few of us that do all this sort of testing, and from what we're seeing, there is certain things that these can be affected, and obviously the time can change due to kind of potency and harmful effect duration. Now, from what we've seen, the helm mark has been flat reduced from 6 seconds to 2 seconds, and this cannot be extended in any way, whether that be from potency, whether that be from barons or misery elixir. There's just no way it can be. And going on from that, the helm mark now has a maximum number of detonations that it can do. And that maximum amount, from what we've seen, is around 10. We're unsure whether it's got a complete cap on that or not. We've got to do further testing, but it does look like the explosions is linked, or is limited to 10 in a 2-second period. So 5 every 2 seconds. Going on to the main hand then, from what we've found, the main hand duration reduction. It says it from 6 to 3 seconds. I don't know whether that is completely true from testing that I've done so far. It does seem that completely with no kind of anything on my gear, I test the weapon and it still lasts more than 3 seconds, but that could just be me seeing things. And yeah, if you do find out that's different, mention it in the comments. But we do know it's obviously been reduced on the write-up, so we have to go with that from 6 to 3 seconds. The main hand scythe damage has been decreased by roughly 33%. Massive. Considering that weren't on the patch notes. Massive amount of damage decrease. Now, I don't know why Blizzard NetEase don't include everything on their patch notes, because we always compare Blizzard's and NetEase's patch notes and see if there is differences, and there normally is. But some of these differences just weren't on either. There's been other ones that have happened to other classes that other creators will get into. Obviously, I focus just on the Necro stuff because that is my main class. And I want to make sure that people get the information out there. Now, with these changes, what happens to the builds we were using in PvP and PvE? The raid build that I put out. Luckily, I didn't put out a new PvP build because I've tested the PvP build that people had been using, and to me, it's just dead in the water. There's no point in even using it. You know, chasing any enemy is just too risky. You end up dying, and the mark falls off. So yeah, it's just a losing situation. With raids, I have tested it out this morning in a G1 raid. The complete build that we were using before. And you will see, let me close this one down and bring up the next one. You will see that before patch, I was doing 2.64 billion damage. After patch, bearing in mind different raid group, understandably, so there is a different set of scenarios here. But after patch, I did just less than a billion. This Holes guy here, he is a 9k whale, using the same build. So you can see the comparable difference in total damage per second. 9.52 million damage per second before patch, 4 million damage per second after patch. Now, significant. I understand that they needed to bring us in line, and I agree that we were overpowered. But these nerfs that have come in are, I wouldn't say game-changing because we have got other builds, but them builds we've been using for so long, we would like to have a mix-up in builds, have some new items. Now, all the new items that come in the last patch almost seem pointless now, because the only 2 items that we were using that were good was the Helm and Main Hand, and now, in my mind, without doing more testing, from what I can see just straight up here, there's no point in using either. So, until we figure out other ways of using them and incorporating them into other builds, I would say revert back to previous raid build and previous PvP builds, whether that be Spin to Win or whether that be Golem Tank. But for now, it's hard to kind of see us using these going forward. Where there may be in the future other builds that we kind of think of, and they may kind of change some of these. Now we've actually had a lot of people testing them, there may be more fixes to these. But at this moment in time, definitely revert back to what we have previously been using. Other than that, from what I've heard in other kind of channels in the Discord about other little things that have been nerfed, I know there's been a nerf to Monks that was stealth, a nerf to Tempests. There's been a change to the auction house with selling items. There seems like the base amount you can sell things for has been increased, so people are not happy about that. And there's obviously just other small little bugs we're going to find out throughout the next 48 hours. And hopefully, if they're significant, I will report them on a new video. If they're kind of not so significant, maybe I will just put them as a pinned comment, especially if they're related to Necro and anything that kind of small changes we noticed that you could do to improve kind of the nerf that's happened. Any significant Necro changes, I'll make new videos for. Any new builds, I will also make new videos for. So leave it here. Well, I think we'll leave it here for this one. I don't think there's anything else we need to talk about when it comes to the Necromancer. We have had a nerf. It is significant. Hopefully we can figure out something going forward that's going to kind of increase the fun of the game for all the Necros that are now going to be kind of sore about the kind of nerf, and I think they're well within their right to be sore. It was too much, I think. I don't think it needed to be as nerfed as much as it is, but then I'm biased because I play Necro. But any comments you've got about what's happened, put them in the comments down here on the video. We will discuss them there. If you're not on my Discord channel, come over to the Discord channel. We can discuss a lot of things there as well. The link for the Discord is in the description below. And as I said at the beginning of the video, if you like my content and you want to see more Necro stuff, builds, guides, everything that's going to be coming for Necro, then do like and subscribe, and we'll see you in a video in the future.